Another episode of On the Spot Painting, and I'd like to welcome anybody who has anybody who's just subscribed to my channel. I appreciate that. Just welcoming you back. If you followed my last video, I was just drawing this kind of a surreal painting of this world. It's out of metal, made out of metal. And kind of just forming as it's going. So it's really, I'm not really drawing it out like you would typically draw out a painting, which is kind of risky in some ways because you're drawing out the landscape without really thinking it through. But I feel like it's already been established. You know, the painting is already, you know, it's starting to come about, and I have really no fears about it, you know, ruining the direction that I'm going at. You know, I understand if it's something I was doing for a person, or if I was doing it from a photograph, it would be different. But this, in this case, this is exciting and fun. So let's begin. Let's get right into it. Pull my paints over here. Okay. I just kind of felt like, yeah, let's get a little more light here. Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Alrighty, let's see. Let's pull some color from here. So this is pretty much going in any direction that, you know, I feel like I want it to go in. And that's the neat thing about an artist. You can just be, you can be yourself. You can let your drawing go exactly where you want it to go. And sometimes just adding that one little bit of color, like I just added that yellow there, it's like, wow, it just kind of, you're building on that, and that color takes it to go, wow. Does that make sense? I don't know. It takes it to go, wow. Anyway, I was kind of just been jazzed right now. I was listening to some YouTube videos. I don't want to really name any artists and stuff that I've been listening to, but some bands on YouTube that kind of brought me back a little bit. Back in the 90s, rock and stuff. Just really enjoyed listening to that. Kind of got inspired just from, you know, listening to play. That's when I was really back in the 90s. I was doing a lot of, in high school, doing a lot of my artwork, and just, you know, just put on the music and just start painting or drawing or whatever it is. And you're kind of in your own world. Never thought I'd be sharing this something live, or well, not live, not live yet. Working on that. I have to get enough subscribers, but just, you know, I'm saying live in that sense of like, you know, you're watching me paint a video that I've done. So the closest I got to it, I may have shared the story before, but when I was in high school, typically they would, in the art class, they'd have different artists that would sit up, or they put their artwork up on the walls and stuff like that, and they would, you know, and they were just, you know, they were the seniors. They were the ones that were to me, in my world, the art world, I guess you would say, in high school, you know, those are the ones you got looked up to, and you wanted to try to be, or not be, but emulate the talent that they had. Of course, be your own artist. And, you know, eventually in my senior year, I kind of got that little bit of that chance to do that. and hopefully to encourage any other new artists that were, any younger. And that's, I guess, that'd be the awesome thing. I mean, to be honest, if you can inspire somebody to do more art, or to create art, it's I can't think of anything better. It's awesome. That you can inspire somebody to go and go, I could do this. I could do this artwork, and then they create. You never know, by your inspiration, because they watch something, or they seen your painting or something like that, and then later on they create this masterpiece. And unbeknownst to this artist, you might be an artist on YouTube, or you might be out there and you might just be putting your artwork out there, and you're thinking, is anybody watching this? Is anybody listening to me? Then you realize that they are, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But if you inspired somebody, to say by what you're doing now, and you're inspiring somebody later on to do this piece that would be influential in the world, or just in the art world, or in somebody's life, just because they were inspired by you doing that artwork, they're just seeing that video, or they seen your painting, that would be an awesome thing to know that you you brought that inspiration along, and hopefully that's I try to do that in my artwork here. I not really keeping track of the time period when I'm painting, but I'm more talking than instructing. Yeah, so what I've really done is just kind of I'm trying to build kind of the groundwork here. So obviously when you have a foreground, so this will be the foreground, middle ground, and this is really in the middle ground basically. It's almost into the background, but this is more of a middle ground, but the background would be probably here. But typically you would have like something here, and then maybe something in the far back would be the background, but you would have that perspective and that kind of feeling of, getting, and I'm always learning with perspective and stuff like that, because I don't find myself an expert at all on that in some ways. I mean, it's perspective is teaching us. You can look out at just do a little experiment. Maybe go out when you're looking at a street, or you see the lights. You're looking down the road, right? And you look down, and you see the light poles, the telephone poles, the electrical lines, power lines, and see how you look off in the distance, and they kind of go more narrow. I don't want to paint this accidentally, but they go a little more narrow, and they come in. And that's just perspective. It's like nobody did that. Nobody painted that. Nobody created that, but that's just what happens in perspective. And you kind of look at that and you're like, wow, that's really cool how that, the one light pole would be a little bit bigger, and then it goes a little bit smaller off in the distance. And that's just happening all the time. There's perspective, there's details, there's textures all around you. You just have to look, you just have to pay attention. And it's like, once you do, it's like amazing. You can just see a whole new world of, just walk out of your yard looking, notice the shadows, lights, the textures, the details that, it's amazing. You can just, as an artist, I think we're always kind of studying, and sometimes we forget. I do at times, I really do. I think we're just moving with life, or trials and troubles of life, or work kind of takes over. We kind of forget about that. Was a little too dark. Well, it's not too dark, but I feel like it was just a little bit. And again, like I mentioned before in the past, you can kind of overwork a painting. I don't really want to try to fix that. I think it's good. Sometimes you just gotta let things be. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of times you want to overwork a certain area of a painting, or you feel like you want to go over it. But a lot, be careful, especially with watercolors. You can definitely overdo the paints. You can definitely do too much, and so you just wanna. I'm not trying to discourage you from doing anything that you want to add to your painting, but I'm just saying be careful because after a while it can be overworked. The paper, so you can just, especially if you're too frustrated with a certain area. What I would suggest is if you're very frustrated in an area, you don't like the way it's looking, move on to another part of the painting, and then you can come back to that, if that makes any sense. So, okay. Moving on. So I have like all sorts of colors going into this painting, which is kind of unique. But if you notice, I bring in the darks here to kind of almost. I bring in the darks there to sort of be like my since I'm not using a pen or a pencil or anything like that. The darker paints. So in this case, it's more of almost a purple. Try to have you see what I'm doing here, but I just pull a little bit of almost like brown. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of giving this kind of like depth fill in this, almost like I want to have like steps, like the ground is moving. Like I mentioned in my last painting, I was saying that this picture is almost like the landscape could be more of a moving, takes on a life of its own. Almost kind of like a dreamscape, I guess you would say. And not that I have dreams like this, just to clarify, I'm not really, I've had some dreams, interesting, but I haven't really painted anything from my dreams, to be honest. Maybe I could, I don't know, I never seem to retain, you dream something and you remember it at the time, but when you really think back at it, you're like, I don't know, I can't really, dreams are very interesting. How that happens, because it feels so real while you're dreaming them. Okay. So I'm trying to get this, I'm trying to get a little bit of feel of the landscape here to kind of move. So like the metal, or I'm trying to just move the landscape along here in this. Sorry if I'm shaking the table too much, I try not to do that. Okay, let me see, I haven't really focused on the sky, so I'm going to go and do that again. So I have as I have variations of color moving along in this painting too, I have a little bit of greens, I have like a little bit of oranges, yellows, browns, copper tones, earth tones, all sort of everything, a little bit of purple. And same thing with the clouds, I'm kind of going on with the blue, purple, so. Yeah. Just pulling some I think it's important too to try to keep some of the white of the paper showing, so that way you have the white gives you that kind of the highlights and the instead of adding white in. I have done white. I've used white before. I try not to rely on that. I've used it a lot of times with waves or oceans scenes. And a lot of the ocean scenes, if you noticed, if you look at some of my other videos, those are actually out of my head. They're not really anything that I would went to see an ocean scene or, taken from a photograph. It's kind of out of my head, so. So notice if you bring a little bit darker tone, like right here, I pull a little bit of blue, this kind of pops out that kind of, when you have the darker next to this sort of brings this out, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring out the sort of like a metal mountain, but it's not really a mountain, it's sort of a structure. Okay. Alright. Let's see, I'm going to pull a little bit of more purple or more red. I'm trying to give this piece a little bit of more movement or more drama, in the colors that I'm using, or kind of a sense of something going on that a lot of times colors will do that for you, or the way you want to bring out that. Storm clouds and things like that definitely bring the drama or the the intensity. All right. So I'm kind of call this right now. We're going to close. Not going to close. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're going to. I'm not thinking anyway. Yeah. We're going to end this video. That's basically what I'm trying to say, is that we're going to just continue on next time. And so it's forming this kind of world, this 3D surreal kind of painting. I hope kind of get the gist of what's going on. So thank you for joining me, and I just enjoy doing these videos and enjoy talking to you, even though that I'm not actually talking to anybody particularly, but to anyone who's listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Anybody, some comments that you guys left, I really appreciate it. Some inspiring ones. I just appreciate that, because it really does encourage me. Lets me know that I'm, you're just putting it out there. You're wondering if anybody's listening, and they are. And I just want to say thank you for those, or anybody out there who is appreciating the work that I'm putting out. And hopefully I'm bringing some inspiration to you, as any any of you guys making videos, your own YouTube channel, your own artwork, or you're just whatever you're doing, just continually do it. Continually be out there painting, creating. Whether you're doing it for other people or do it for yourself. I mean, ultimately, right now, you know, we need whatever outlet we can. I mean, this world has just become so many things happening, so many crisis things and happening in this world. But I think if we can kind of stable ourselves and what we can do, our own creativity, bring it out there to the world, and just give ourselves and our abilities out there, we can do and create. And I feel like that's what we're driven to do as artists. We're just driven out there to create something, to make art. Whether you're doing it with whatever music, dance, or you're doing it with digital artwork, or you're doing it with watercolors, pastels, whatever medium you're out there doing it, just continually do it, so we can I feel like we're just going to make this world a better place. We're just going to make it better for everybody. And, so thank you for joining me, and I just want to thank you for another episode of On the Spot. I believe this is number 20. I have to get back on that one. It's been quite a bit. I mean, if you followed me from the first On the Spot painting, kind of changed directions a little bit. I was kind of drawing something that I would paint from the object or something like that, where it turned out to be something. Now it's like I'm doing paintings out of my head and more creative ventures in that regards, but it's kind of forming into different things. So thank you for joining me on the spot, and have a good night.